what a beautiful day it is today. Sun is shining and I got a bright day ahead of me. Which reminds me, I'm gonna pick another animated film for me to review today. I'll be back. Then for DreamWorks we have Shrek, Sony Pictures Animation. What do I want to review? Sony Pictures Animation, Sony Pictures Animation, Sony Pictures Animation, Sony Pictures Animation. And I heard a boom outside too. Let's see what's going on out there. A Blu-ray? What the frog is this? The Emoji Movie? Hey, I've heard about this movie before, but haven't heard good things about it, really. Maybe I have heard a few good things about it, but other than that, I've mostly heard a lot of really bad stuff about it. Like, people calling it one of the worst animated films and worst films in general of 2017. Yeah. Guess I probably should give this one a try. Hey Seymour! I finally found a movie to review! The Emoji Movie on Blu-ray? No, please, no. Please, whatever you do, do not watch it. Why not? I've seen it myself, and it is indeed one of the worst animated films I have ever seen, period. So please stay away from it at all costs, if you may. Oh, well, even if I have heard a lot of bad stuff about this, I am still gonna watch this to see what I think. Now I'm gonna pop this into my PS3, and let's go! Oh no. One viewing later. Oh my goodness! That was horrible! Sony Pictures Animation. An animation studio that has had its ups and downs over the years with its reputation, especially among reviewers. Whether it be people who love the effort they put into even their newer films.
It was enormous, as not only was it a really fun and exhilarating superhero film, but it also had some of the most eye-popping animation ever put on screen, with its trippy comic book-like stylization that eventually led way for other animated movies to come through.
People who aren't big fans of some of their older films.
Sony. When it comes to Sony movies, sadly, we can always count on shameless product placement, obnoxious marketing, and scripts with all the thought of an orangutan's banana preference.
Or previously those who used to hate their movies and business decisions so much that they would root for the studio to shut down.
This is exactly why Sony Animation is better off dead. So with that said, Sony, emojis, and this movie!
But admittedly, I would say that like Blue Sky, Illumination, and DreamWorks, Sony Animation is a balanced studio. In the past, they were regarded as a lower tier studio, making movies that are decent, mediocre, or just plain bad. Of course, some of their movies back then can be highly enjoyable, like Surf's Up and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and some being decent at best, like Hotel Transylvania. But some of them were not so great, like Open Season and those awful live-action CGI Smurfs movies. It wasn't until 2018 that Sony Animation really found their footing with films like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Vivo.
Before that, however, 2017 was possibly the worst year for Sony Animation, where they released 2 box office bombs with both Smurfs The Lost Village and The Star, 2 uninteresting attempts to jump into the field of television animation with the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs show and the Hotel Transylvania show, and a pathetic and dumb excuse to cash in on Surf's Up with a direct-to-video crossover sequel with WWE. In the middle of all this chaos is this movie, which was universally hated by a lot of people ever since its announcement back in 2015, when Sony announced that they would be making an animated feature about emojis and the world they live in. And this backlash would continue to build up with the trailers, all the way up to the movie's release in 2017, where even Rotten Tomatoes gave it one of the worst scores ever for an animated film, as well as the simple yet hilarious consensus of just one plain red no emoji. It also doesn't help that the guy directing it is Tony Leondis. Now, I have nothing against the guy at all. It's just that some of his work like Igor and Lilo and Stitch 2 don't really sit right with me. It's just too bad that this movie ended up killing off his career with the negative reception it got, and I especially feel bad for him since he also had an interesting but sadly cancelled project at DreamWorks called Boo, Bureau of Otherworldly Operations, and I'm sure he had an interesting concept with this movie. It's just that the execution was ruined by the Sony hack and an endless wave of executive meddling. I know it sounds like I'm panning the movie before I even begin talking about it in full, but without further ado, I might as well get to it. So how bad can the Emoji Movie possibly be?
Let's go!
Inside the world of a smartphone owned by a high school kid named Alex, Gene, a meh emoji with multiple expressions, is getting ready for his big day at work for the Text Corporation in the digital city of Textopolis. Yeah, the Text Corporation. That's what I'm gonna call the business. However, just as he tries to make his meh expression, he blows it and makes a random expression in a text from Alex to his love interest Addie. At that point, Gene is ridiculed by all the other emojis, and the Text Corporation CEO, Smiler, sees him as a malfunction, sending her army of robots to delete him, which is completely impossible on an actual smartphone, by the way, so why would that make sense in this film? Now Gene gets some help from High Five and a hacker emoji named Jailbreak in order to make himself 100% meh. And along the way, we have to suffer through so many shameless promotions for random apps, including the Candy Crush game, Spotify, Facebook, Just Dance, and even YouTube. Where do I begin with the story? This movie is obviously trying to rip off other animated films including Disney's Wreck-It Ralph, Warner Animation's The Lego Movie, and Pixar's Inside Out. The Wreck-It Ralph side of it involves a digital world where the electronic elements interact with each other as anthropomorphic objects, but replace the arcade with video games and the characters from those games with a smartphone with mobile apps and emoji characters. And the Inside Out part of it is all about the real world from the point of view of the emojis inside the smartphone, particularly in the main office of a texting factory. However, it also makes it one of the most soulless, in-your-face movies out there, where the Wreck-It Ralph portion is focused more on prominently commercializing various apps and not in a good way, we'll get to more of that soon, and the Inside Out portion focuses more on the relationships and friendships that Alex has, but they unfortunately feel like they have no point to be there and it feels more wasted. But wait, there's more! Did I almost forget that this movie also borrows the message of Smurfs The Lost Village, the very movie that Sony Pictures Animation released just before this? Yes, it's been such a long time since I watched Smurfs The Lost Village, but I have come to realize that this movie blatantly took a few elements from that movie, particularly the environment where everyone has only one element to them, except for the main character who is weirdly not looked upon well by the others and risks their life to find their true identity, which comes with a message about being yourself instead of just being the type of trait that others believe you're supposed to be. But the way this movie does it is 10 times worse than what the Smurfs did. It's so hypocritical that it feels like the movie is shoving this message down your throat. Some of the other worst things about the writing by far are the cringeworthy comedy and the soulless advertising. The humor either tries desperately to be cool and hip, or throws some toilet humor at you in some desperate attempt to make you laugh. That's Bubble Butt Gag, the Whip Nene song, the emoji pop, pepperoni nipples. They even put an elephant emoji and a smoke puff emoji together just because Sony wanted the audience to see an elephant farting. Oh yeah, that's the image I want in my head while eating popcorn and drinking iced tea. And the app plugs. Oh my dude, the blatant, shameless app plugs. The heads at Sony wanted the real stars of the movie to be actual apps and services that we've used for years, and it feels forced in a way that it treats the audience like idiots who don't know how any of these apps work. I mean, what is this shameless commercial bullcrap? A Facebook tutorial where Gene and High Five get showered with stickers? The Twitter bird soulless plugs for the PPAP music video and cat videos? Candy Crush? The Spotify stream? Just Dance? The Dropbox environment? A demo of Instagram? I may sound crazy for saying this, but Ralph Breaks the Internet utilized most of these services much better than you, movie. I cannot believe these lousy execs allowed this. Like, what the frog is wrong with you people? God, this movie is so freaking shameless and stupid!
Yeah, lock it down, soldier!
I need to calm down. But yeah, as you can tell, this movie has zero shame whatsoever in terms of writing. The story is already badly written, but to plagiarize elements from other popular animated features out there, let alone one of your own, that's just illegal.
And action.
Whether I was watching this film for the first time or the previous time, I could not get by how unnecessarily mean this movie was. Every single character in this movie is either really bland or absolutely selfish. For the emojis themselves, everyone who sees Gene constantly bullies him just for having more than one emotion or look. It's like the whole town of Textopolis is so incredibly racist towards Gene that they see him as a malfunction. And the main characters themselves are not that different either. Gene is the generic protagonist who wants to find his true identity in order to fit in, only to discover that there's more to him than just being a meh emoji. Jailbreak is a bland love interest to Gene, as well as a shameless ripoff of Wild Style from the Lego Movie. And High Five, oh my god, High Five. He is by far the worst freaking character in the entire movie. Every single time he's on screen, not only does he spew out horrendous dialogue, lame jokes, and maximum annoyance, but he is also a selfish idiot like almost everyone else in this movie. His filler is even worse than the poop emoji filler. Absolutely nothing he does is even remotely funny or of any charm. You just want to thrust your fist right into the screen and break his freaking knuckles! Speaking of poop, he's just there to make some stupid toilet jokes, and he might as well sum this entire movie up.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on the phone and I'm only 10.
That's because I believe in you.
Should we wash our hands?
No. We're number 2. We're not...
Smiler is a dull villain who might as well represent today's greedy Hollywood CEOs. Gene's parents have little to them except to just show a meh face. The only ones who are kinda tolerable are Alex and Addie, as Alex is trying to impress Addie by asking her out to the school dance. I mean, their side story isn't very interesting, but at least the two have better motivations than everyone else among the cast. But then there's the voice acting. While the acting for the humans and maybe a few emojis is kinda okay, including Alex, voiced by Jake T. Austin, the first voice actor for Diego in Go Diego Go, the rest of the voice acting is noticeably really awful. It's as if many of the actors demanded a paycheck and their talent got wasted onto this film. They even got Sir Patrick Stewart to voice Poop in this, and I just feel highly sorry for him after that. Whether uninterestingly dull or obnoxiously selfish, I have never felt the same hatred for almost every character in this movie that I felt in the later Family Guy seasons or Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon. While I wouldn't say this is bad animation by any means, it is kinda uncreative. I do feel sorry for all the animators that worked on this movie because they all did the best they could with their material. Admittedly, the real world itself looks really good with the backgrounds and humans, and the humans too are more down to earth when they move. When it comes to the smartphone world though, it does look okay, but the emoji designs look rather lazy since most of them are just the same emojis with stick arms and legs attached to them, and some of them have this stupidly awkward hairstyle like Gene. But another good thing to say is that their movements are smooth and sometimes they would be more cartoony. I do think the world of Candy Crush looks nice, though it is obvious that it too is trying to pull a Wreck-It Ralph with the concept of a candy world. The one big thing that brings down the animation for me is the poor advertising. It's so embarrassing to see these various apps being shoved into your face like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, WeChat, Twitter, Dropbox, etc. And this is why a good script can save bad animation, but good animation cannot save a bad script. And this film has such a bad script, I'd rather be scratching my nails across a chalkboard while putting my head in a full trash can. Even if this was a 2D hand-drawn animated film in the likes of Disney or Don Bluth, it would still be horrendous. I don't blame the artists or animators at all, because the animation is still alright. But sometimes the visual ideas that the movie brings up can make it look bland. What else is there for me to even say about the Emoji Movie? It sucks. It still sits down below as Sony Pictures Animation's worst animated film to date, with a story that shamelessly steals from other animated features, horrible characters, unbearable humor, a hypocritical message, voice acting that feels like the talents have been wasted, soulless plugs for several apps, and animation that, while okay, looks more uncreative and bland. If you want my recommendation, I suggest you just skip this film entirely. If you want a better Sony animated film with technology and the internet, go watch The Mitchells vs. the Machines. It continues the amazing tradition built on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and is easily one of Sony Animation's best films. It's on Netflix now, or you can go get it on Blu-ray or DVD. The only decent experience I had watching this movie was with the short before the movie, which is a Hotel Transylvania short titled Puppy. It is kinda cute with the concept of Dennis wanting a puppy, but the dog turns out to be a giant monster puppy and Dennis tries to take care of it. But with this movie, there was no decency to be found here. I wouldn't say this is the worst animated film I've seen, since I've seen how worse Food Fight, Norm of the North, In Search of Santa, and Arctic Dogs are. But as Poop best described this film, it is just one big piece of crap that I would give a 2.5 out of 10 with the Dirksen stamp of failure. and now to give this movie the punishment it deserves.
So with that said, this movie can suck my lemons. Screw this movie, watch it go. Well, that's one more terrible film to deal with. Now stay cool, guys, and have a very nice day. This is Caleb, over and out.